Welcome to the Tribute Lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett.
And I'm Shane Johnsen.
And on today's episode, the Jones Hovercraft 2.0.
Finally, 14 years in the making, so to speak. They ran the original Hovercraft for 14 years. But to start, we've brought on our first, it's our first sponsor.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Our homies, we both worked there back in the day, and Baldface is bringing you this episode. So thanks so much, Jeff and crew over at Baldface. We appreciate the support. Now, on to the 2.0.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The rep was just talking about it the other night and said, for years, Jeremy has been wanting to do an update or a little one here and there. And the team have been like, don't touch it. It's so good.
Whether it was the split or the solid, it was kind of one of our top sellers constantly.
100%.
And I was on the split for 5 years, the 5.6, and that was an incredible snowboard.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kept its general look is the same, but pretty much every detail's a little bit tweaked, and all to the positive. All to the positive. Definitely, you'll notice one of the first things is just the top sheet, and the veneers that are using underneath this coating are there's flax based.
Yep.
Also, Jones is really at the forefront of recycling material from old snowboards, so not pulling out an old core and throwing it into a new board. They have a way to process those materials, and they do this high
compress
compression.
It down,
yeah, and then slice them at 90 and are able to use the veneers and such, and then they come out really well. And you can
so
actually
those
see
stringers are in this board. It's a small percentage right now, but I think we're going to see Jones evolve into core composites that are recycled snowboards.
Recycled.
So this is going to be
the
amazing.
material is recycled in an appropriate way that doesn't compromise the performance or longevity of the product. So again, the silhouette's pretty similar, but they've sharpened up the nose a little bit.
There.
They have kept the same traction tech, so that was little bit of extra contact points in there at the 1.0 level. So Jones has 3 levels of that, and this is the most mild version. There are a bunch of different sizes available.
Yeah, we always put those down below,
and
as well as the Canadian price will go down below.
I would say on the smaller sizes in particular they're wider.
They are.
They're wider. This thing's
are.
made to hover. It's it's really made for POW. Rides everything super well, and you'll see some of that.
Everything, like bank slaloms. You can take this board to a bank slalom.
It's one bank slalom. It's one border crosses.
Exactly.
And funny enough, we argued upstairs. We almost put this in our top 5 all mountains.
Yeah, I struggled with that because I go to grab the Stratos first. And I was like, it was last year's with good reason, but then we rode this, both of us rode it at Turning Man a few times, and then Mark got it for another couple weeks, didn't you?
No, I just had it on a real banger.
You went to Valhalla.
I had it on an epic
yes.
A+ day at Valhalla, yeah.
And so I only have a run or two on it, but immediately, and the talking point is in the tail, well, the spoon nose too, but the tail, what we show you shortly here, it's almost got like a rudder fin system to it too, where it just engages.
It's got a couple channels in here. You can actually see them from the top.
And
certainly see them in the bottom. They're a little bit more pronounced, even yet again in the bottom.
That's the most noticeable change from the original Hover. That's what everybody keys into right away. Okay, what's up with that? Obviously, we have 3D contour in the nose, spoon nose.
Yeah.
But this is a wicked addition.
Yeah, it's a cool little feature for sure.
Drop some weight.
Yep.
Settle the tail down.
Lets it settle in a bit better.
But like wingers almost, so to speak, it'll give you that. It'll hook, it'll grab. I didn't get it in POW,
no,
so you wrote it in POW.
I had it in POW, and if it's doing it, it's minor, so it's not going to be something big you have to adapt to. It's just, I think it's definitely helping in letting the tail settle in there a little bit better, more than any sort of tracking, because it's, it's just off of the
like what are we
contact
looking
point.
at there? We're 4 mils.
Yeah, it's
3
probably
mils.
4 mils total.
Yeah.
But cool little feature. Cool little feature. The tails are a little sharper, so I like the sharper ends. I like the silhouette. The small changes in that silhouette are pretty sweet. I believe there's probably a little bit of subtle differences in the core profiling and when the rocker comes up. I think it actually might come up a little earlier than in years past. The overall sensation, and again, I had it pretty much only in like bottomless, epic,
Yeah,
perfect,
you were luckier than I was. but yeah.
perfect POW.
It's showing here the rocker, we're camber to about here, and this is right where the rocker is going to engage on this guy, right below the logoing there.
Yep.
And that makes sense. And a touch in the back.
Oh, there's definitely
too,
a touch in the back
to settle that tail down too.
But what I really had the sensation of, it was super stable, floats obviously great. I mean, you can almost, with where the inserts are in relation to the center and everything, you can almost be like front foot heavy on this thing. Like you're not going over the nose. It's amazing.
I think that was always the intent.
And that was always
shape.
the intent of this shape, is run a shorter tail, which I love. Is kind of how I ride boards anyway, pretty far back. But I had the sensation that I was inside the snowboard. It's kind of hard to explain, but where like
it's
ends,
cuddling you.
The ends like really had me.
Yeah.
And just loved it. And of course, it turned like a dream. In general, they don't have a lot of side cut in this board. So
no, I saw even
for
9
size,
in one of the bigger models.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that same sort of theory that we really like in all mountain and free ride boards, where what it does is it doesn't give you like a lot of bite at the ends.
Wow, the 56
you get a lot more.
is a 9.
Yeah.
56
Yeah,
is a
so
9. So
straighter.
that makes sense why I like that one.
Yeah,
so
this is
much,
why
actually.
I'm.
Yeah.
And there's a place for boards with lots of side cut. Don't get me wrong. There's a place, and they're really fun to ride. I prefer straighter side cuts, and this board's always kind of had that.
As with most of the Jones lineup, we have a sintered 8,000 base. So the more you wax it, the harder, stronger, faster that's going to get. It's a race base.
Yeah,
Like that's
essentially
a race base. Doesn't matter the color it comes in, but that center base material that's as primo as it gets. And this is a board coming in around the 750 range. We'll put the pricing in Canadian below. But really, the value with this machine is definitely there. Bioresin in the top sheet.
Yep.
Pretty much all the boards are coming with that now.
Yeah.
Gives it a little bit more of a damp feel too.
Yep. It's got a biax glass, which
That's
makes
right,
it really
yep.
easy to ride. So you can ride this board with your feet pretty easy.
And the Splitty 2, I believe, has the same. But we'll pull that up in a second too.
Yep. And so Jones, almost every board they make in a split. Hovercraft for sure. Every one of the lengths in the Hover come as a standard snowboard or in a split version.
So essentially, the same nuts and bolts are building this board, but we're now Karakorum 2.0 Ultra Clips here. We have obviously a split board in our hands, but look at that seam. If you can even see it, it is just
and that's
wow.
It's really hard to do, and it's
Yeah.
even extra hard to do knowing that there is traction tech in the middle seam. So there's a slight wave in through there. Initially, he did it so that both sides of the split board had like engaging and biting points for side hilling.
Yeah.
But the real benefit is
it locks
the two
Yep.
sides in so they won't shear away from each other,
Exactly.
which happens, for those of you who've split boarded a lot, can happen to just about any one of them. But this one, they really lock in.
Yeah,
So
we had to bring this down to show you too.
I couldn't believe how
this is
tight
incredible.
the
Yeah.
tolerance is there, and that seam just disappears, and that's without even the bindings on there, which is another level of
Bonding
clamping
once
the
again.
two
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
people are really freaking about this thing.
No, if we do a top 5 split boards, this is absolutely in the top 5 split
100%,
boards. So
100%.
know that. But yeah, just wanted to show you that there's a lot of crossover. Obviously, torsionally, this is going to be you know, each piece is going to be a bit stiffer because it's a split board. They want it to bond and ride as such, but you get your sintered 8000 base. Everything else is going to be the same flex in the top sheet. And yeah, gorgeous split board this one is. We've also had one of our riders slash, well, pro rider for Jones, one of the guys that works up in the shop every once in a while, Garrett Warnick, Worm. He has crazy footage on this board, and he's the one guy I find now that has taken this to the backcountry freestyle realm like no one else I've seen before. And hopefully we're sneaking some footage from him and playing that throughout this show. But yeah, Garrett has really shown that this board is one of the most versatile tools out there.
So versatile.
For looking as directional and like graybeard as it does, it's yeah, he takes it out of that stratosphere right away. And kudos to him. The riding footage is incredible.
Yeah. And I want to thank Baldface Lodge again for sponsoring the show.
Absolutely.
And having me out there. I got to test this at Baldface Valhalla on it was definitely one of their top 3 days last year. So it was so good. It was so good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and in closing, Fozzie, anything else on this? I mean, this is, if you've got...
I mean, bang for your buck, too. It's
that's what I was going to say.
Really good. You know, yeah, it's $750, but like to get something that rides...
It's a quiver killer.
Equivalently as good as this thing, you're going to pay more or you're going to need 2 boards.
Yeah, this is a quiver killer.
You can have this out east crushing it all the time
Mm-hmm.
and then take it on a cat trip and it be your board in the deepest days too.
So like we always gauge these things, like weight comes into it. Is this going to perform on a groomer? Of course it is. If it's icy and variable, is this going to be stable? Of course it's going to be stable. Will it kill POW? Yes, it will. So that's my criteria covered for a board that I know I can just grab out of the truck and be like, okay, whatever I'm
No
riding.
matter.
Yeah, it's...
Anything, it's going to work 100%.
Yeah, no, kudos to the guys at Jones. I mean, 14 years is a long run, and that board was great, but this thing is fantastic. So, yeah, we've got them available at tributeboardshop.ca, of course, and available upstairs if you're visiting Nelson, BC. Hopefully you are. Stop by, come see us. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode.